And now, our feature presentation.
The best
in the world
is right here, right now.
Whether you like it or don't like it, pal, learn to love it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome.
All right, listen up.
Now it's our time to step forward. It's time to bring the NWA back into the spotlight.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Attention, everyone. Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
It's the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin, Frazier, DKM, and JCap.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for ham sandwiches and jabronis. If you guys haven't ordered your shirt yet, make sure you do so. Going for a good cause, and it's a damn fine shirt, if I do say so myself. We are on here to talk NWA with you, the fans of the National Wrestling Alliance. Of course, with me is the former World Junior Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Kevin Frazier. Welcome to the show, Kev.
What's going on, Jay? DK in the house.
And mean mugging the camera with the fresh cut, DKM. Welcome to the show, DK.
Donkey Schwung.
So we've got
German out there.
We got a full house in the chat room already. I want to say what's up to everybody. I see we've got Jimmy LB. We've got Terry McDermott, Chris Drummond. I think there's more of you guys watching, and that's cool. If you'd like to join in on the conversation, please feel free to type your comments in the comments section. We'll try to get to all of them, and we like to, on this show, we definitely like to interact with you. This is a community that we're building here. This is that hashtag NWA fam, the Alliance blog, and we're here to talk NWA. That's what we do every Thursday at this time. And if you guys, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Twitch, we appreciate you being here. And I'm gonna just start right off. POWERRR SURGE episode number 3 left a lot to be desired. I don't know that this was needed or necessary. I mean, I did appreciate the tag team match because at least it was a little bit of wrestling. I felt like these sit-down interviews with May, for the last few weeks, I really felt that she'd been coming into her own. I felt like these were kind of a step backwards. I didn't think it was all that great. And I'm going to go to you, DK, to give us some of your thoughts on these interviews on this episode. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because, of course, we got a pay-per-view on Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. That would be When Shadows Fall. So, DK, what were your thoughts on POWERRR SURGE number 3?
Wow. What a waste of time. It went 45 minutes, which is about the average length of some of their shows. Had way too much Camille on it. Billy Corgan was on it, and he even spoke, but I have no idea what he actually said. And had a tag team match that was more or less meaningless. Hey, by the way, did you know that Tim Storm was gone for 2 weeks on a special assignment? And you want to bet we'll never know what that special assignment was?
I just thought that was the old rib that we used, like when you couldn't make the podcast, or when Jaden back in the day couldn't make the podcast, we would just say, "Oh, they're on special assignment."
Yeah, and we did. Unless you were the one that was out, in which case you violated the substance abuse policies. But what do you expect when you leave Jaden and I unsupervised? And did we need that much strictly business? I mean, Nick Aldis, What did this really do to make you want to buy the pay-per-view?
You know, I've seen like yeah, I agree. I think for once DK is right. I was hoping for a water spit out right there. No, this is what you guys in the chat room, this is why you pay the big bucks to watch us for these kinds of moments. No, but it didn't really accomplish anything. I mean, it didn't go anywhere. I actually stopped watching it because I was like, I got a podcast to do about this show here in a few minutes, so I'm not even going to watch the rest of this because I already know that it's going to be trash. The tag match, the better team certainly lost. Dude, PJ Hawks and Luke Hawks, brother, they are good. Like, they're one of the best teams we've seen all season. And yet they get one little spot.
Hey there, real quick.
Go ahead.
Let me interrupt you real quick. Since you like to interrupt other people, I'll interrupt you this time. But how many times have makeshift tag teams beat a real tag team?
100%.
Every time, basically.
So what you're saying is, what's the point in even getting a tag team? The best thing to do is just throw one together at the last minute and you'll be world champs.
Certainly seems that way.
It does seem that way, doesn't it?
So, before we get to the pay-per-view, I do want to just point out some things that I thought were kind of interesting. I do want to talk a little bit more about the tag match, but let's just break down POWERRR SURGE episode 3. I mean, like DK said, there was an awful lot of Camille. I think it was pretty cool that she showed some respect, right, to the Burke, to the NWA Women's World Championship. And that's one thing you have to give her credit for, because other members of Strictly Business have literally just given up titles. She was actually talking about the heritage of the championship. She mentioned Jazz by name, which I thought would have popped Kevin, because she said like Fabulous Moolah, Mildred Burke, and Jazz. And I was like, well, I mean, if you're gonna reference a game changer, Jazz was certainly that. She took exception to the last episode of POWERRR SURGE where they talked about Thunder Rosa on her time, and she didn't appreciate that. And then I feel like they're using May Valentine to feed this anti-Thunder Rosa rhetoric. And it was like May accused Thunder Rosa in projecting that Camille was a coward. Now, nothing about what Camille has done in the ring has proved her to be a coward. So, I mean, that kind of is a silly comment from Thunder Rosa. But then Thunder Rosa... How has Thunder Rosa been a coward? Like, that didn't make sense to me either. And it's like, why would you even ask that question in such a way? Like, she certainly fed May fed the interview there. She said, do you feel like Thunder Rosa is projecting? It's like, what does this have to do with anything? Am I losing my mind here? Are we in the Twilight Zone again? Because this doesn't make any sense.
We're back in the Twilight Zone. One thing I do want to say is I'm about to post a video in the chat for you guys to see. You guys tell me what you think. But way back in 2011, NWA Revival, they called all of us and asked us to put together promos. And part of the reason I won that title, I to this day believe, was because of my promo that I just put in the chat. And I say this, I believe I started the whole list off all the history, guys, because I start my promo just like that. So, just saying, it's been done 10 years ago. Yet again, I think Camille might be trolling, might be watching, might be a Kevin Douglas fan. And when she wanted to go really, Nick Aldis, when your girl really wanted to go and get some promo advice, she went to old Kevin Douglas 247 and pulled up that NWA Revival promo video and took a few pointers from a guy who knows a few more things about promos than a lot of the people on that show. I see DK rolling his eyes.
You're right.
For what?
I remember those promos.
And then my last note on Camille is that I felt she was very respectful in the way that she talked about Serena Deep, which I think is really that's good storytelling, right? Because we don't know who's going to walk out Sunday as the Women's World Champion, but and I think Kevin will back me up on this right now. If you go out there and call your opponent a jabroni, a ham sandwich, whatever's, and then you absolutely murder them, then what's the point? They were a jabroni, they were a ham sandwich, they were nothing. But you go out there and you talk them up and say, yep, they're aggressive, yes, they're talented, yes, they're good, but I'll prove to you why I'm better. When you beat them, it actually means something. Is that right, Kev? Will you follow that?
No, that's 100% true. And really, I would say Nick Aldis is really good at this, and Camille should take the same route with Thunder Rosa. Is before you trash talk somebody, build them all the way up. I mean, build them all the way up, and then say, "And I'm better than you. You did all this. You've done all this. You've been here. You've done all this. Good for you. Fantastic." And then you look straight into the camera and you say, "And I'm better than you. And I'm gonna take every accolade you ever accomplished. And when I beat you, I've now eclipsed all of those things." I felt like she should have done it with both, but I do like the progress I'm seeing in Camille's promo skills. It's getting better. Again, I don't expect her to be like full 100% just there, but much more improved from the very first few times we watched her promos.
Next we have it shifts to Billy Corgan now with May, and I mean Kevin kind of hit this on before the show started. Like I don't think I need Billy ever on the mic again.
I know it's Devin's turn to talk, and I know I just talked, but I need to say this. And I'll look into the camera. Billy Corgan, you write and perform some magnificent music. In fact, today, back in the song Today might be one of my favorite songs of all time. Either that or Cherub Rock. Brother, you're a phenomenal musician. You've made a lot of money. You've been very successful. I highly respect that. But just like I respected Ricky Morton's career before he came on the show and doesn't belong anymore, I respect what he used to be. Brother, don't ever do another promo video segment with you talking again on the show. Don't do it. Don't be the Jerry Jones of professional wrestling. Okay? We don't need an oil guy running a football team. We don't need a singer running a wrestling show. Dude, I'm just telling you, don't be Al Davis. Don't be Jerry Jones. Learn from these guys. I'm a Cowboys fan in pure misery because of that. Now, don't do the same thing to me with the NWA.
DK?
Spoke volumes after that.
I want to know what everybody was smoking, and then I want to stay away from it.
It's that China fake weed.
Yeah. Look, if you watch it, you know, and I think that's all that can be said.
There was at one point he said something along the lines of, there's some people who will just do the bare minimum until you push them, and then I'm one of those people, and I think that's what Trevor Murdoch is, and I'm just thinking, bro, don't say these things. Shh, don't tell people that.
Did he just compare himself to Trevor Murdoch? Did he just make Trevor Murdoch's entire NWA run about him? Again, I'm sorry for butting in again, guys, but this is something you need to take into account when you get on a camera in front of millions of people and you start talking. You got to take into account that this is a skill that takes time. It'd be like me going and grabbing a guitar and trying to play a Smashing Pumpkins cover, and all I've taken is a few weeks of guitar lessons. That's what you did on a nationally televised show that's got millions of dollars behind it. I just don't see how that's a good usage of those highly valuable television minutes. I'm sorry, DK.
Look, for Billy Corgan, he's not doing professional wrestling as we think of professional wrestling from whatever glory days that we remember. And these tapings kind of show that, because he's taping a TV show. I mean, that's why they tape in 3 days, but Trevor Murdoch's suspended for 30. Yeah, right. And even in their calculation, it didn't work out right because he was back in 28. And so, what's his name? Master Adonis, Bob, Chris, whoever. He wins the national heavyweight title. Well, he holds it 2 days and gives it up. Now, for us, it was 2 months or whatever, which is the way they're portraying it. But that's not what it was. And so that's why he's able to go on these things and do these type of interviews, and I use the term very loosely, is because for him it's just a TV show that's not any different than, watching your favorite dramedy. And, I mean, honestly, I laugh more, but it's sad that it's sad that they can't just put on a professional wrestling show.
Kevin's laughing because Sean just killed it. Bruce Tharp is more entertaining. There's a GIF I saw on Twitter, or GIF on Twitter, where Bruce Tharp is like turning around behind an NWA logo and pointing at it and scowling in his different sequin suits. And yikes, that was pretty entertaining.
I was in the court case. I was on the stand in the court case for when Bruce Tharp took over.
They subpoenaed you?
Yeah, I was on the stand in the court case. I don't even remember what I talked about.
Wow.
But I was in the stand. I got up and spoke.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yep. What's funny is you understand, I'm from Texas. The place where Bruce Tharp based himself out of. And but they didn't choose me. The Trobich group chose me. So even though I was from Texas going to all their shows, they still saw me as Trobich's guy.
Yeah.
Testified for him in court. It's still, I'm on the outside looking and I'm like, you can't win for losing. Anyway, the drama. I still call Ricky Morton. I still called him out for putting that belt on Ricky Morton. I wish I'd have never deleted that video.
One thing I wanted to point out when May straight out asked Billy Corgan if he thought that Trevor was worthy to be world's champion, he more or less gave a non-answer and said, look, it's not really up to me, which, I mean, yeah, it is. You're the owner of the company. But he says, look at what Harley Race would say. Did Harley Race train somebody who wasn't worthy to be world's heavyweight champion? And so say that again.
Well, DK probably trained lots of people that weren't worthy of being world champion. Because
I do have
at the end of the day, you want the.
Well, guys, don't we have like a shorter time frame tonight?
Yeah.
Jay, don't you have somewhere to be? Like let's not waste our airtime on a guy who wasted our money with airtime. There's so much better things to talk about, but if we want to do a little 15-minute show tribute of just making fun of Billy Corgan, I'm in.
Maybe we'll do that next week. Okay, so you know what? Who cares? You guys saw Power Surge. It's up to you to say if you liked it or not. I thought the tag match was fun. Did it mean anything? No. But most of the matches on Power don't mean anything. We got a good showcase. We got to see Luke Hawk and PJ. Is it PJ? Yeah, PJ. We got to see them in action. They're a good tag team. I have it on good authority. They'll be back. The one thing we did get from that match, or two things I want to say, and then we'll move on to the pay-per-view, is one, I find it kind of interesting that Luke Hawk, back when he was Altar Boy Luke wrestling for NWA Wildside, was feuding with Salvatore Renaro over the NWA Wildside Junior Heavyweight Championship. So I know it doesn't mean anything, but I thought that was kind of cool.
How funny! I don't know how I didn't put all this together. Salvatore Renaro.
Yeah. Are you
I'm 100% sure I knew him.
You probably.
And right now, I have not put the two and two together. I wrestled at Wildside.
Yeah, well, you might have been in the ring with Sal.
No, when you say Salvatore Renaro, immediately, I'm like, wait a minute. I know that name. I don't know Sal Renaro, but that sounds, wow, how funny. Anyways, what a funny thing. Guys, I do want to say my big take from that was that tag team, Luke and his kid. They're awesome. And I know they may not hear me on the show, but I've wrestled Luke before. He's I've worked for Luke and wrestled for him. He's a great guy. But man, what he's done with his kid is a stud, and I look forward to seeing the future for him and his son, and his son once he starts to move into a singles portion of his career.
And then the other
That's
thing,
all I got.
The other thing I wanted to point out was we kind of got circled squared, came to a conclusion because Velvet Sky pronounced Hawk Ari the winners of that. Remember, there was 3 matches that aired, which was the Hawk Ari versus the Russians, the Koloff dynasty. Then we had Jordan. What was her name? I'm not going to remember these names, but we had George South and Colby Carino, and then we had Freya the Slaya from Alaska taking on Jordan. Can't remember her name. And then there was one more match with Lindsay Snow that never made it to air, and they never fulfilled that show because, of course, COVID put a stop on everything. So at least we have the conclusion now from last year that we know that Hawk Ari won that competition, which is awesome because they didn't really fulfill the obligation for the competition. But that's neither here nor there. Kevin, did you see what Kikuchi just said?
Oh boy, wait, no way.
So real quick, I want to get some of your comments. I see you guys are here in the chat. Mega wants to talk about the card. We're going to get there right now, Sean. John Staleman. I'm sorry, John, if I said that wrong. Do you think Sal could get a push if they bring back the junior heavyweight belt, since he'd be against people his own size? He's been in the business for so long. I think what he's doing now is what he's going to be doing. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah, he wouldn't be. I don't think he would add anything to that championship. I think somebody like Matt Cross.
Absolutely.
Now we're talking. put the belt on Matt Cross, let him carry that division, and you bring in guys for him to wrestle and just have matches, and you make that the story, which is how a junior heavyweight division should be, brother, I guarantee you there will be ratings that come out of that, and people would love to see that.
And then,
hey, before we get to the pay-per-view, I do have one question. It's just a curiosity question, quick answer. And anybody who's in the chat can answer too. Should the NWA retire the national title for a while at least? I mean, should they just leave it vacant and not worry about it? My personal opinion is that right now, probably yes.
I could agree with that. They just got too many belts. And, you know, like, I'm going to agree with somebody that was in here talking about bring back Willie Mack. If you're going to put the belt on somebody like Willie Mack, I want to see that. But he was the national champion at one point. But I agree. It's just they got a lot going. They got a lot of moving parts, and it wouldn't hurt them at all to let it set for a while. It's a good story for later. Sorry, Jay.
I think, and I'm going to talk a bit so that everyone else in the chat can catch up to what we're talking about. I think that the national title and the television title came on way too fast. The NWA was still kind of getting its feet wet. They had the 70th anniversary show, and to bring some extra oomph to it, they brought back the national title. That was a good idea. But then they brought the TV title when Power came on, and now you have too many belts. You've got tag titles that they've been defended once in like 6 or 8 weeks of television. You've got a women's championship that's never been defended on Power this season. You had a TV title that was used perfectly. The TV title was used the right way. Absolutely. Then the national title, you had one match for that national title, and then nothing. And of course, the world title hasn't been defended on Power at all this season either. So, rushing to bring the title back under the current situation? Absolutely not. Terrible decision. You don't need it. It's overkill. Besides, this looks better anyways. But to my point, the national title, in and of itself, again, you don't need another singles title on a show that's 45 minutes long. That's 3 episodes a week. You know, if the show, if Power begins to evolve, if the NWA evolves, if they create a secondary program, if they decide to do a YouTube special or something, then I could say, okay, you're creating more content. You could use that title to tell more stories, but they don't even have enough time to tell the stories that they have now currently. So yes, DK, I'm with you. I think the belt should remain, unfilled, vacant, until there's a time where that title could be useful. And
so
I want to make
they'll somehow magically fill it in the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
you're right. I want to make a few comments about in the chat because I feel like there's some good stuff going on. There were some people agreed about Matt Cross, which I think that's great. Kokushi asked me, and I don't know if he's like
trolling,
trying to poke the bear or not, asking if do I think Chase Owens could be useful for this NWA. Honestly, Chase is like a great wrestler, and if you're going to talk about bringing back the junior heavyweight title and having work rate type matches with a guy like Matt Cross, heck yeah. But I feel like they would freaking waste him if they brought him in here and brought him in as a singles wrestler. The only way I bring him in is if he's in like a Bullet Club type tag team or something like that, where you're looking at like to get a rub, you're getting a New Japan crossover. I could see that being beneficial. But the other entertaining thing. So I think Chase is a great talent. He hates my guts. Doesn't mean he's not a great wrestler. But I just don't think they have a good spot. They'd use it right or have a good spot for it. The other thing I liked that was put in here was why not retire the tag titles?
Yeah, it's all that.
I thought DK would get a kick out of that.
Yeah, Sean had the best idea, retire the tag titles. I don't think we talked about this on the air. We were talking a little bit before. And we noted that every set tag team, the War Kings, the End, now with the, Hawk and his son. Yeah, Hawkeye, whatever. And every tag team, when going up against a kind of makeshift tag team, has lost. And the only time that a tag team has won was when it was two set tag teams going against each other. And that was War Kings and the End. So things don't look good for the War Kings coming up at the pay-per-view, which is my segue to the pay-per-view.
Yes.
Hey.
There it is. When shadows fall. It's kind of funny that that Carneyland stuff was so ridiculous, and people mostly hated it. And then the second pay-per-view back, they're doing a carnival circus theme. How carny is that? This card, this event is... I like some of the matches. I like a lot of the names that are joining the roster. But who booked this shit? It doesn't make any sense. Like, guys...
Billy Corgan?
Yeah. This stuff doesn't make sense to me because, first of all, we acknowledged earlier that on this program, a thrown-together tag team in Tim Storm and Sal Renaro faced off Salvatore Renaro. Kevin, you know him? They took on Hawkeye. They won. They had a victory. That's a tag team victory. If you look in the win-loss columns, they're undefeated as a tag team. Because they also had a non-title match against the tag team champions, Kratos and Stevens. So they're 2-0. But there's a tag team, a 4-way, which is, again, come on, do we need to do these 4-ways every pay-per-view? There's a 4-way here, a 4-way there. You're putting Renaro with Sam Adonis, now known as Sam Rudo. That doesn't make any sense. Why isn't Tim in this tag team match, or why is Sal Renaro in this tag team match? It just seems like you're throwing that pasta to the wall to see if it's gonna stick, and it doesn't make any sense.
Well, same with Slice Boogie.
Well, yeah, Slice Boogie. They put him with Marche Rocket. Now we all know Marche Rocket teamed with Fred Rosser. They had a very good match. That was a perfectly acceptable match. That made sense, but I don't know.
But Slice had teamed with Mims.
Yeah,
they're the ones that got the win over the War King. So now why all of a sudden is it? I mean, I know why, because Rocket's friends with somebody, and but it's like, yeah, why as far as what's the purpose of this match? Is it going to be a number one contenders match? Why is it a 4-way? Do they all hate each other? I mean, what's the reasoning behind this other than it was a way to get 4 teams, 2 of which are thrown together, and here.
Why did we spend how many weeks of TV?
Too many.
To all these weeks of TV, and instead they have these storylines that seem like they're like really well thought out. That's why there's such a slow developing story. To get to a pay-per-view where you don't even answer any questions with even the matches. The matches aren't going to answer any questions. They're not going to resolve anything that was done in the shows. It just makes no sense to me how you're going to put all that time into a TV show that leads to something that looks like on paper it has not a lot to do with this whole TV show. Look, you can knock on all the wrestling promotions in the world, but like, I can't imagine WWE doing something like this. And in all the blunders they've made, they do throw matches together. Don't get me wrong, but goodness gracious, man! Like, some of this stuff makes no sense. Sorry.
Well,
you spent all this time on TV. What were you doing?
And James H. Jackson, our dear friend, just said it perfectly. A $19.99 asking price. You don't experiment and throw stuff against the wall on my dime. I mean, that's kind of how I feel. Like, okay, I think the End versus Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666 would be a great match. I think that would be a lot of fun. You'd see a contrast in styles. But if you're going to introduce Mecha Wolf and Bestia, why not put them against Hawkari, where you have similar sized guys who are actually familiar with each other? Because believe it or not, Hawk and Mecha Wolf used to wrestle quite a bit, and that could be quite a fun match, and that would make a lot of sense. And then maybe, I don't know, put the End versus somebody like, hear me out, Mims and Slice Boogie, considering they are a tag team that have had some success on NWA Power.
Some redemption.
Right. Well,
it doesn't have to be a 20-minute match.
The End has the End really doesn't have a storyline with anybody right now, except for Strictly Business are the ones that beat them. So they don't really have much going into this either. But again, that's why booking's so important. We just went through 8 weeks of television, and you've established some of these names, but some of them are just sitting there in limbo. The End, Slice Boogie, Marche Rocket. You know, these guys they don't have anything going on. So let's just throw them in a match. Let's see what happens.
This only works. You know, Perro is out there mad. Now people are going to have to start paying attention and blah, stuff like that. So this only works if the End goes out there and destroys the other 3 teams. Otherwise, just do the End and, you know, and Beasta 666 and Mecha Wolf 450. Might be a styles clash, it might not. They may work out fine. But at least that would be 2 tag teams facing each other, and it'd be an introduction of 1 tag team.
So,
I'm sorry, but why do I need Sal Renaro on a pay-per-view?
You don't?
Why do I need Marche Rocket on a pay-per-view?
Why do we need Sal Renaro on almost every episode of the TV series?
Because
instead of having 45 Nick Aldis promos throughout the series, we could have had like a 10th of that and had a lot more story building and a lot more building towards what it is they're trying to build. But I also think you have a little of what we call hot shot booking going on here too. They're just trying to book people, hot shot booking, like where you book people just because they have a name and you think it's going to help you draw more fans, but it has nothing to do with anything in your company, nor do you plan for them to have anything to do with your company going forward. You're just bringing them in for purely name value alone.
And that's a good lead to the next.
Let's just look at this 4-way right here, which makes as much sense as the 4-way in the first pay-per-view. But okay, let's look at this. Let's take care of it the way, we'll do Kevin's the way I would have booked it. So I would have taken the End and put them against Beast and Mecha Wolf. I would have gotten rid of Sal. I would have gotten rid of Marche, and I would have put Sam Rudo against Slice Boogie. They've kind of been building Slice in a very weird way that doesn't help him at all. Sam's a new person coming in, has some background. I mean, those are 2 matches that would be fine to open a pay-per-view with. Not every match is going to be a main event, but those are 2 matches that could be, hey, that's interesting. I want to kind of see what they're going to do. I mean, Kevin talks about there was trash back in the day, and some of the early world-class Star Wars, their big super cards, was Kamala taking on 3 jobbers. But then what happens is after he squashes them, Bruiser Brody comes out, and that's Kamala.
That's what they could have done with Tyrus. That's what they should have done with Tyrus.
We may not want to be labored too much on this match if we're going to get through all the matches.
No, and let's.
But I do have a question for the chat before we move on. If they were to put 3 numbers behind my name, what would those 3 numbers be? I mean, we got Bestia 666, Mecha Wolf 450, Kevin Douglas
321
24/7. That's the website.
Okay. Hey, moving right along.
So then they a good segue is bringing somebody onto the roster who hasn't really had a presence because they're going to try to pop the pay-per-view buys, which, I mean, I don't necessarily blame them for that. And I think this matchup is actually going to be a fun match, even though there's very little history behind it or any NWA connection to it. But JTG versus Fred Rosser. JTG was from Crime Time. He used to team with Shad Gaspard. And I know he's tight with the television champion. And another guy who I think was not used to his fullest potential in the WWE, which is exactly what the NWA has been talking about, what they wanted. So he's a guy that I think is going to fit in very well on this Power roster if they decide to book him right. And then Fred Rosser, I mean, I think Fred Rosser's been a breath of fresh air. Every time he's in the ring, he's good. He's not the star of the show, but he's certainly good in his role, and I think it brings something to the table. DK, what do you think?
DK.
I mean, I'm good with the match. I kind of have a feeling it's not going to necessarily be a surprise who wins it, but we can keep our fingers crossed.
Sure.
And like I said, I've enjoyed most of the matches that Rosser's been in. He does. He's a good guy. He's somebody who I thought that United dropped the ball on, that they should have put their world title on him. And of course, right now, I think they should put the world title on anybody, even Ric Flair. So, this fits what I kind of call the opening matches of a big card. Not everything's a main event. Some of these things are to introduce people, to get people, to get some people over who maybe you already have or whatever. Let's see how it goes. So
I think it'll be a good match. That's all I got.
Yeah, I think it'll be enjoyable.
I think it'll be a good match.
Yeah. And just one more thing I want to add to this. When Power first started taping the very first episode back in 2019, remember they did tapings first that led up to a pay-per-view. And now they've kind of flipped that recording style where you get the pay-per-view first, because obviously that's generating a lot of money for them, and then you get a series of Power. And I really wish they could somehow flip-flop that back to the way it used to be, because this would be a perfect, this season of Power should have been introducing people like JTG or Mecha Wolf and Bestia or Kylie Ray. I think this would have been, then having that payoff of them in a pay-per-view would make sense. But bringing them on the pay-per-view first and then just expecting us to know who these people are. If you only watch the NWA, you watch no other wrestling, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, you don't know who JTG is until they introduce him. You don't know who Kylie Ray is until they introduce her. So it just seems to me like, I don't know. I think they should get back on a different recording schedule. But the next match is Tyrus teaming with Austin Idol. Represented by Austin Idol, taking on the television champion in a non-title match. And there must be a winner.
Let me say something, because I love what James said. DKM just came up with the slogan for this pay-per-view. Let's see how it goes. When shadows fall,
let's see how it goes.
That's actually a good idea.
And Sean Mega said that the three numbers that could be behind my name would be 420. Sorry, brother, I retired from 420. But I don't know. I'm ready to get to the conversation about the big title matches. But I don't. This match to me, I don't really understand why we ever got here in the first place. They're just, you have a television champion who's your best work rate guy, really top 3 work rate guys, and your whole plan over this whole series was to have him go out and have a throwaway match, not even for the title. That he's probably going to do the job. What is that? You're not building a champion like that. You're not building a belt. Yeah, this is one of those. I'm gonna call it like I say. This is some indie booking right here. This is what they're doing out in Springtown, Texas, on a Saturday night in Mineral Wells. Though I do love those guys out in Mineral Wells, but yeah, I don't understand this one at all. Not looking forward to it.
All I have on this one's a quick question. Does Pope have to win? Because if he doesn't, does that, kill his heat, his momentum?
I don't think a loss is going to hurt him. It's just like is Tyrus worth giving that loss up for? You know what I mean? And I think the answer is no.
No.
I mean, if he comes to the taping, dropping 20 pounds and looking like the best shape of his life and is ready to work, maybe that's a different conversation. But right now, he's not that guy. He wasn't that guy in the first season. So let's just move on to the tag team match: Thunder Rosa and Melina versus Kylie Rae and Taryn Terrell. This one is another head scratcher, and I know you want to get Thunder Rosa on the card because, again, she's a draw. But her and Melina, I mean, early on in the season, Melina came out and said, look, I want to just be your manager. I want to be your supporter. And Thunder Rosa was very not good with that idea. And it seems like every time Melina comes out and sticks her nose in Thunder Rosa's business, she eats a spear for it, or she gets knocked off the apron or something. And Thunder Rosa didn't even check on her the last time. So this is kind of a weird
apron.
Well, and her and Thunder Rosa become better friends every week for no reason at all.
Yeah, and again, that story's not really explained. And then you've got Taryn Terrell, who has been, kind of, mean girling it with Camille. Now she's partnering with Kylie Rae, who again is like an internet baby face, and a lot of people understand she's had some mental health problems in the past, and she quit AEW. As Kikuchi pointed out, she no-showed Impact. I know she's a internet darling, but I don't know. This just, again, let's see if it works, right?
When shadows fall, let's see if it works. I'm gonna keep saying
Thunder Rosa, you could put her in. I don't know what the purpose of her match was. It went to a draw because apparently the answer is okay. Well, we'll just ignore that. So Melina supposedly was going to sign with WWE again until her knee or something was in so much bad shape she couldn't wrestle. So now that's from her, but she just couldn't do it anymore. And so now apparently she can. Kylie Rae, I know she's had her issues. I hope she's gotten some help for it. Hopefully this would be the type of thing where you do work just a few days and get a month's worth or get a couple of months worth of activity out. So, I hope good things for her.
And I do think it makes a lot of sense for her as a human being, right? She wants to wrestle. This is a perfect place for her, considering, some of her ups and downs. And I'm certainly not trying to pass judgment on her for that. I definitely am happy that she's gotten to a place where she feels healthy. But they could have just brought her in a different way. I mean, I think most people would rather have seen Thunder Rosa versus Kylie Rae 1-on-1 instead of the silly tag match that they're going with it.
Well,
but they got to use Melina and what's her name, Taryn Terrell. They got to use them.
Yeah,
that's just
mandatory. I was actually thinking, you don't always have to introduce somebody in a match. She could just be there. I mean, Taryn Terrell didn't come in, in the first match, and Melina never really wrestled even in the old episodes, except for maybe 1 or 2 times. This would have been a good thing where they could have brought her out. She could have been watching. They could have put her on commentary. If they're not going to put her on commentary, she could just be watching. And I would have much rather have seen Thunder Rosa in a singles match against almost anybody, like Terrence Terrell or whatever, that then this tag team match just it adds no real value as far as making me want to buy the show. I mean, now we're getting to the matches that should make me want to buy the show. The first ones, yeah, these are the opening matches you put on. But now I should want to, buy the show. Thunder Rosa has a huge fan following.
This would have been some good Paul Heyman style booking where you have Thunder Rosa versus,
Taryn.
Kylie Ray. Or Kylie Ray. Kaylee, whatever. You advertise that, and you can also say also appearing at the bottom. You can always have Melina, whoever else, maybe matches that, you don't have to advertise every match. And so they're going to be there. You just don't know what they're going to do. And they have a singles match. It goes 15 or 10 or have some really good wrestling. And then you have kind of a kibosh kind of thing happen, and then the thing breaks down and the referee restarts it, and it's a tag match. And, I mean, at least have something interesting. Tell a one-night story, if anything. Have Kylie Ray come out and say, I'm here, and I'm here to challenge Thunder Rosa. I don't know. There's just a way you can do that that still plays to the story. Anyway, I'm ready to move on.
So next, DK, are you finished with your thoughts?
Yeah,
Very.
finished.
Okay. So then we get the tag team championship match. Now, Aaron Stevens and Kratos, who they finally have had one successful title defense, will be taking on the guys that they beat in that one successful title defense, the War Kings, and the guys that refused to face them at the Power episode before that in Adonis and Latimer. I feel like this match makes very little sense when we talk about matches that are going to get you to buy the pay-per-view. This doesn't get me to buy the pay-per-view. Now, I like the War Kings a lot. I really do. And I hope the War Kings come out with the tag titles. But, why are Adonis and Latimer in this match? Billy seems to just, kind of roll over. Okay, all's forgiven. Those guys screwed up an episode of Power, and you were supposedly fined them, and you supposedly took that match away from them, only to give it back to them at the pay-per-view? Doesn't make much sense to me. DK, what did you think? DK, are you frozen?
Apparently I was.
Looks like it.
I was obsessed watching Kevin die. Either way. Look, I don't care about this match, honestly. The War Kings should win it, but the way they're booking, tag teams don't win. And the way they're booking the War Kings, where they're getting along just only slightly better than Stevens and Kratos. And by the way, when we said Billy shouldn't talk, when he was trying to explain how this match came together, was the perfect example of that. And so, I don't know. I don't care. Retire the national title, retire the tag team titles, send me the belts. And
go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, my guess is that Adonis and Latimer will come out with the belts, and that'll make up for Latimer having to give up the national title. And it'll kind of keep that whole thing.
Sorry, guys. Well, this may have not sold the pay-per-view for you guys. But y'all, who's my favorite wrestler in the NWA?
Jack Stain?
Latimer.
That's right. I forgot.
So Latimer sold. You told me you put Latimer on the card. You tell me I get to see him wrestle. Not only that, but I get to see him wrestle 6 or 5 other big dudes. All I can ask, and Latimer, I know you don't watch this show, but okay, what you said, Digger. But Latimer, I know you don't watch this show, but if you ever happen to, just at least get in the ring and beat the hell out of every one of those big guys, so I can get my money's worth at this show. If you do that, Billy Corgan, if you're watching this show, because now you hate me and you're like, so wanted to see what I was saying about you. If there's anything you can do right, just make sure Latimer goes out there and lays hands on every single person out there
Even
in
Adonis.
that match. Let me see. Well, even Adonis, sure. But as long as I get to see that, I feel like I'll get my money's worth. Because getting to see Latimer in there with Dane, with Crimson, with Stevens, even Kratos.
Yeah.
I think to me that as long as they go out there and just beat the hell out of each other, and they give them enough time to do that, I'm good with it. But what I don't want to see is one guy in the ring with another guy for 15 minutes. For God's sake, don't do that. But I would say this would be the match I'll be looking forward to the most, just because I got my favorite guy going.
Pull the trigger.
Yeah. We don't need Stevens and Kratos anymore. This pay-per-view should either solidify them as a tag team and make it a real big deal, or just split them up, let them go their separate ways, and figure out what you're going to do with them later.
Bring back the karate gimmick.
That brings us to one of the matches I think is probably going to be if JTG and Fred Rosser doesn't steal the show, then I think Serena Deeb and Camille might. The women's championship match, I was so impressed with Camille in her match with Thunder Rosa. I know she didn't get the victory, but she also didn't lose. And the fact that she's got a W on Thunder Rosa, which Thunder Rosa doesn't have on her, that gives her the match against Serena Deeb, who, if you guys didn't see at the pay-per-view, All In's, what was it called? Double or Nothing buy-in, Serena Deeb looked awesome. And you got two women who are aggressive in the ring. Serena Deeb kills her in terms of work rate, kills her in terms of scientific maneuvers and all that stuff. But Camille's a brick house. And I don't know how you're going to beat a brick house. And I don't know how you're going to beat someone who's a master of 1,000 holds. So, Kev, tell me, what's your pick on this one?
I actually think I'm with you on this. So this is another one selling me. Because I'm really impressed and intrigued with the growth I've seen from Camille. And I want to see what she looks like in the ring with maybe somebody that's not out there trying to eat her up, but is actually going to use those skills that she has. Serena Deeb was a trainer for the WWE, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and she will use those skills to actually enhance what Camille does. And again, guys, if they do this, you will see what I was talking about the last time, when you'll see the difference. Hopefully we get to see that. I think it could happen, because again, I think Serena Deeb doesn't have nearly as much emotionally invested in this as Thunder Rosa does. And I think that she sees the opportunity to go out there and have a match that people might actually really remember, and they could easily steal the show if Camille comes out and shows even more improvement. Because remember, how long ago were the tapings? What is that? How long ago did they tape it? 2 months? 3 months?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's had 3 months now to improve, and I'd like to think that that's something that she's been doing. So we can only imagine that it should be better than what we saw in the TV series. So again, I'm really looking forward to this match. Again, all the stuff we talked about at the bottom part of the card, they're getting to the matches that I want to see. That's what I feel like I'm paying for, and I have a feeling this match will deliver.
All right, DK, your thoughts?
This is actually the match I'm most interested in. If I buy this would be the match that is why. And, I hope Serena goes out there and eats up Camille. And just kidding. No, honestly, Serena Deeb, for those that don't know her background, but she was trained by Rip Rogers, who's one of the best trainers out there years ago. She was in Ohio Valley back when Danny Davis and Jim Cornette were in charge out there. She has lots of experience. She has very good training. She has gone on to do training She did training for NXT. AEW originally brought her in for training, to do training. And every match that I watched of hers, and she's about the only, her and Rose are about the only reason I'll watch AEW, an AEW match. You know, they're all good. She is a veteran. She's extremely talented, and she knows what she's doing. And, you know, it's going to be me. Camille should thank her lucky stars that she gets a chance to work with somebody like this. Because we all know Camille's going to be great. Probably. And one of the ways she's going to become great is working with people like that. You know, somebody who can really teach you and take you through a match. So I won't say I'm excited about it, but I am very interested in it.
And I think, DK, you bring up kind of a good little point in what I would like, what I hope we're going to see from Serena Deeb is what I expected to see from Thunder Rosa. And what you just said, part of the goal of a veteran wrestler is to help younger wrestlers come along. And you don't do that by taking advantage of their ignorance of what they're supposed to be doing in a match. And I think that's what we saw with Thunder Rosa. I hope we don't see that. And again, I'm not trying to die on the hill of whether it was a good match or not. It was a great match. But I think if we see what I'm talking about, you'll see the difference. We'll see more moments like the missed spear into the roll-up for the false finish. We'll see more than just one of those. We'll see a plethora of that. Now, I really hope we get to see that, and I really hope to see Camille walk out with the title.
Well, because of some of the AEW stuff, I question whether Camille will be able to win. It would be nice to get the NWA Women's title back into the NWA. But then again, as much as they use or don't use their titles, it may be better off in AEW. I understand what Kevin's saying, and I would like this match to be, you know, what Kevin's talking about. Again, I think where our disagreement was even over the one with Thunder Rosa was, you know, there's dynamics in relationships, and the dynamics in the relationship of Thunder Rosa and Camille, which was a heated. I would expect Thunder Rosa to go out there and kind of manhandle, you know, be more experienced, didn't do that. She was doing what I was expecting her to do. In this one, there's not that dynamic. Serena Deeb's coming out to defend her championship and prove that she's the best women's wrestler, you know, in the world. She's the world champion. And so that's a different dynamic, and I would expect the type of match that Kevin's talking about. So that leaves the main event, Jay?
Yeah, that takes us to the 10 pounds of gold, the real World's Championship, the granddaddy of them all, the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, held by the Dealer, the National Treasure, Nick Aldis, as he puts his prize up against the man who won a 16-man, although they still call it a 14-man, Battle Royal to win this opportunity. Nick Aldis has made Trevor Murdoch's life hell for the last 8 weeks of television. Really, 2 days. But, I mean, they've built this storyline up fairly well. I mean, it's been the main focus of Power for 8 weeks. It's why Nick Aldis has been on camera so much, hamming it up. I really feel like this is an opportunity for the NWA to do something special. I think this is the opportunity to do something that it doesn't happen very often in this modern day version of the NWA. And I think that you're going to see two guys who both really respect Harley Race step into the ring. And you're going to see something very interesting. Kevin, you know, you're NWA champion. You were that's in your DNA, that's in your blood, that's something that nobody can take away from you forever. And when you see somebody like Nick Aldis carrying that title, and you see somebody like Trevor Murdoch challenging for that World's Heavyweight Championship, I mean, what does that mean to you as a former champion, you know, the former World Junior Heavyweight Champion, but what does it mean to you as a wrestler?
I really think that, to me, with the way this match is set up, with how they've put things together, I like both guys. In all storylines aside, and all the build-up aside, whether I liked it or didn't like it, or how they did Murdoch, or how they did, you know, they can erase all that by going out there and getting us a World Heavyweight Championship wrestling match. And, you know, Nick Aldis gets out there and talks about being the real world's champion. Listen, brother. If you're the real world's champion, and I know you don't listen to the show, but this is from one ham sandwich jabroni to another, because, brother, you ain't as good as you think you are. If you're the real world's champion, brother, then this needs to be the best wrestling match for this month. Between this pay-per-view and the next pay-per-view, this better be the best wrestling match we see on any wrestling program. Or, newsflash, you calling yourself the real world's champ, it's just a work. Trevor Murdoch can do it. I know he can go out there and have a great match. It's not about who could win or who can't. Is that all this on the phone?
No, that's ring. It's a work, brother.
So that's my point, is that you're just saying it unless you deliver. You've got a talent out there in Trevor Murdoch who can deliver, who can go out there and have a 5-star match, especially heavyweight, beating the snot out of each other kind of wrestling match. So I think this match has everything you need to be a show stealer, a true main event, a World Heavyweight Championship match. There's nothing that really these guys lack. The only thing that would lack would be either a lack of intelligence in the way that the match is put together and booked, or a lack of effort on their behalf by not being prepared or not being in shape to deliver the kind of match that we expect from the real world's champion. I just laid all the cards. How about this? I just laid all the cards out there on the table. Let's see if the dealer can deliver. All that, DK.
Yeah. Look, Kevin nailed
Shouldn't
it.
have put me in the semi-main, Jay. You should have put me in the main event.
Sorry, brother.
I'm sure DK will be fine.
Yeah, anyway. No, seriously, I mean, Kevin basically laid it out. This has all the potential. I have a complete lack of trust. And, I mean, honestly, that's it. I don't trust them to do what's right. I don't trust them not to do something screwy. There is a possibility that, you know, Murdoch could win, as they've announced already another match between the two of them in July
24th.
July 24th, which, you know, scheduling wise would probably be a little bit difficult, because that would probably be, you know, before their next pay-per-view. So if they were going to be on TV, would you ever show Aldis with the belt if he were to regain it? You know, because there is some school of thought out there that Murdoch will win for the big pay-per-view and then just drop the title back on the 24th, because hot-shotting titles is not uncommon. And I don't know, they may do that, they may not. I probably wanted to surprise the fans or surprise the world. I'd probably have Aldis win this one and then lose on the 24th. But I don't trust him. In my heart of hearts, I worry of a dusty finish, which was an Eddie Graham finish. And I don't know. I that simple. I don't trust him.
I don't either.
Hopefully it's a good match. And it's a real shame because I'm a big fan of both guys. And it's a real shame that I can't just sit there and go, oh, this is going to be so awesome. I can't wait to see it. And so I'm like, I don't know if I want to see it because I don't know that they're going to treat it right. I don't know if they're going to book it right. You know, guys, prove me wrong. NWA, please. Pretty please. Not asking for much.
So there's
just attack results.
So there's a little bit of optimism, but also a little bit of worry, concern from the Alliance guys. Why don't you guys leave a comment when this show ends and tell us what you think? You know, tell us what you think is going to happen in the comments, because this show is going to end right now, but I know you guys still have a lot of things on your mind you'd like to talk about. If you leave a comment below, I promise we'll get back to you. We'll respond. But that's going to do it for this week. I know we normally say long goodbyes, but your boy Jay has to go. He's got to go catch a train, catch a plane, catch an automobile. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Alliance Guys podcast. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information. And next time we will see you at the matches. I'm just trying to find the close button, that's all. And have a good night now. We'll see you soon. Enjoy the pay-per-view.
Later, guys.